First contact the crystalline. Spires of Azura's capital gleamed like frozen. Lightning against the violet sky as Dr. Sarah Chen stepped from the transport pod onto alien soil. This is quite the welcome committee, she whispered to herself. Facing rows of silent purple-skinned figures whose expressions remained unreadable behind translucent face shields. Dr. Chen, a voice spoke through her translation device. I am Kai, Royal Advisor to Commander Rena. We did not expect you to arrive alone. Sarah straightened her shoulders. Feeling the weight of Earth's diplomatic hopes resting upon them, the invitation specified one representative. The Galactic Council thought a linguist might bridge our worlds better than politicians. Kai's eyes narrowed slightly. Few humans would brave meeting the commander alone. She has not directly addressed anyone outside her inner council in over 70 years. That's precisely why I'm here, Sarah replied. Following Kai through spiraling corridors that seemed to hum with subtle energy. Communication is about more than words. The grand hall they entered stretched upward, impossibly far. Its ceiling a simulation of Azura's night sky. Sarah's attention, however, fixed immediately on the figure seated upon a hovering dais at the chamber's center. Commander Rena appeared both ageless and ancient. Her purple skin had an almost translucent quality, with faint patterns of light pulsing beneath the surface. Her eyes entirely black except for pinpoints of silver light, studied Sarah with unsettling intensity. Commander Renasara began, offering the formal Azuran greeting she'd studied for months. Earth extends its hand in peaceful. Why did they send you? Rena interrupted, her voice surprisingly soft yet filling the entire chamber, a scientist rather than a diplomat. Do they fear me so little? Sarah hesitated before responding, or perhaps they respect you enough to send someone who seeks understanding rather than advantage. A murmur rippled through the attending Azurans. Kai stepped forward, alarm evident in his posture. Commander, perhaps we should proceed with formal protocols? Rena raised her hand. Silencing him instantly. Leave us, Commander. Security protocols, leave us, Rena repeated, her tone allowing no argument. The chamber emptied swiftly, leaving Sarah alone with the most powerful being on Azura. Rena descended from her dais, moving with fluid grace until she stood merely feet away from Sarah. Her height, nearly 7 feet, made Sarah feel childlike by comparison. You look at me strangely, human, Rena said, without fear, without the reverence my own people show. Sarah met those star-filled eyes directly. I see someone who hasn't been truly looked at in a very long time. Something flickered across Rena's face. Perhaps why do you look at me like that, human? I'm not used to being seen, maybe, Sarah replied quietly. No one has ever really tried. Rena circled Sarah slowly. Her movements deliberate. Your species is young, impulsive, dangerous, yet fascinating. She stopped directly before Sarah. You will stay 7 days to determine if further contact serves Azura's interests, and if it doesn't, a smile, the first curved Rena's lips. Then you return alone to your council with news that Azura wishes continued isolation, and if it does? Sarah asked. Rena's eyes seemed to brighten then, Dr. Chen. We begin a conversation that may change both our worlds. As Rena glided from the chamber, Sarah released her held breath. The commander had spoken more words to her than anyone in decades, according to her briefing. That alone constituted a diplomatic miracle. What Sarah couldn't have known was that Rena, in her private chamber, was touching her own face with wonder, feeling, for the first time in centuries, truly seen. Silent understanding. The royal gardens of Azura stretched before Sarah like something from a fevered dream. Plants that resembled Earth's coral swayed without wind, while crystalline structures captured and refracted the light of twin moons overhead. Sarah walked slowly, documenting everything with her neural recorder, when she sensed rather than heard someone approach. The night blooming chrysalis is particularly vibrant this season. Rena's voice came from behind her. They respond to emotional energies. You must be experiencing strong feelings to make them glow so intensely. Sarah turned to find the commander standing closer than protocol would normally allow. Fascination, mostly, she admitted, and perhaps a bit of homesickness. Homesickness, Rena repeated the word as if tasting in a concept we lack. The Azuran people rarely leave their birthplaces, never curious about what lies beyond. Curiosity, Rena said softly, can be dangerous for those in positions of power. It leads to change. Change leads to instability. Sarah gestured to a bench carved from what appeared to be a single massive gemstone. May I ask why you agreed to this meeting? Your people have declined contact with Earth for generations. Rena joined her on the bench. Keeping careful distance, eternity grows monotonous. Dr. Chen, even for those of us who measure life in centuries rather than decades. Please call me Sarah, she offered titles. Create unnecessary distance. Rena studied her with those star-filled eyes. Sarah, she said finally, an Earth name with ancient origins meaning princess. How ironic that you come to me as an equal. Is equality so difficult to imagine? When you have been worshipped for centuries, Rena replied, equality becomes the rarest gift of all. They sat in companionable silence, watching as floating luminescent creatures drifted through the garden. Sarah resisted her researcher's urge to fill the quiet with questions. Instead, she simply observed how Rena's shoulders gradually relaxed, how the eternal vigilance in her posture softened minutely. Your world sent 27 diplomatic missions before you, Rena said suddenly, all carrying weapons, all transmitting secretly to your military, all seeing me as a resource to be managed. Sarah's breath caught. And me. You brought books, music, art. Rena's voice held something almost like wonder. Yesterday, you smiled at a garden attendant who dropped her tools. Your neural implant contains research, not weapons specifications. Your fear exists, but doesn't control you. I'm still afraid sometimes, Sarah admitted. Of me. Of failing to build a bridge between our worlds to help you see humans as more than just dangerous children. Rena's lips curved slightly. Yet here you sit, speaking truth instead of flattery, another peculiarity. The next morning, Kai intercepted Sarah before her scheduled meeting. A warning, he said, his voice barely audible. The commander has requested private meals with you, no outsiders, no advisors. This is unprecedented. Is that concern I hear, Kai? The commander has responsibilities, obligations. A millennium of isolation protects her from manipulation. She speaks more with you in 2 days than with her council in a decade. Perhaps she's lonely, Sarah suggested. Kai's expression hardened. Commanders of Azura do not experience loneliness, they transcend such weaknesses. All sentient beings need connection, Sarah replied, even extremely powerful purple ones. That evening, Rena appeared in Sarah's quarters without announcement. She carried what appeared to be an ancient book bound in material Sarah couldn't identify. For my personal collection, she explained, placing it carefully on the table. Azuran poetry from the First Age, poorly translated to your English, but perhaps interesting nonetheless. Sarah touched the book reverently. Thank you. This is an extraordinary gift. Not a gift, Rena corrected alone. I would hear your thoughts on it tomorrow. As Rena turned to leave, Sarah spoke. Commander, she called softly. Rena paused. Yes. Why did you really agree to see me? Rena stood motionless for several heartbeats before answering. In 800 years you are the first to look at me and see someone rather than something you don't. See, Commander Rena? The eternal you see? She hesitated me. When she departed, Sarah carefully opened the ancient book. Inside the cover, Rena had written in careful English script, to begin understanding each other, we must first speak the same language of the heart. Sarah traced the words, wondering what it cost someone so isolated to reach across the void. Separating them, the gesture spoke volumes more than any official treaty ever could. Unexpected bonds. The Azuran Council chamber hummed with tension as 13 senior advisors watched the recording of Commander Rena laughing. An actual laugh caught by security monitors as Sarah recounted an old Earth story about mistranslated diplomatic greetings. The sound was so unfamiliar that younger staff members hadn't recognized it. This human influence is concerning, Advisor Aya stated, her luminous eyes narrowed. The commander's behavior grows increasingly unpredictable. She canceled the solstice meditation to show Dr. Chen the crystal caverns. Kai shifted uncomfortably, perhaps. Some change is not unwelcome. The commander has existed in isolation for centuries. Isolation that has preserved our way of life, Aya countered now. She speaks of cultural exchanges, art, music, literature. Has anyone considered these might be tactics to lower our defenses? Meanwhile, deep beneath the palace, Sarah stood transfixed as Rena guided her through chambers of breathtaking beauty. Massive crystals pulsed with inner light, creating symphonies of color that responded to their movements. These formations are alive in a sense, Rena explained, her voice softer than Sarah had ever heard it. They respond to emotional energy. The brighter the light, the stronger the emotion. Sarah noticed the crystals nearest Rena glowed with particular intensity. They seem quite responsive to you. A millennium of contained feeling provides ample energy, Rena admitted. My people believe rulers must maintain emotional neutrality for clarity of thought. That sounds incredibly lonely. Rena's fingers brushed against a crystal, causing cascades of purple light. Loneliness implies desiring connection. I had forgotten desire entirely until recently. Sarah felt heat rise to her cheeks as Rena's eyes found hers. I brought something to share with you, she said quickly, retrieving a small device from her pocket. Music from Earth. The delicate notes of a piano concerto filled the chamber. The crystals pulsed in response, creating visual harmonies that matched the music's emotional swells. Rena closed her eyes, an expression of wonder transforming her features. It's beautiful, she whispered. So different from our mathematical compositions. Human music feels imperfect, Sarah suggested. Alive, Rena corrected. She extended her hand hesitantly. Among my people, sharing emotional resonance is considered intimate. Would you show me how humans share music? Sarah stepped closer, taking Rena's hand and placing it palm up. She gently tapped her fingers against the purple skin in rhythm with the music. We feel it together. The crystals around them blazed with sudden brilliance. Rena's breath caught. I haven't, she began, then stopped. Haven't what? Sarah asked. Been touched with kindness in 273 years. Something shifted between them in that moment. A barrier dissolving like morning mist. The most powerful being on Azora stood vulnerable, her fingers trembling slightly beneath Sarah's. Later that evening, Rena appeared at Sarah's quarters with an Azuran musical instrument resembling a crystalline harp. I would like to share our music properly, she said, almost shyly. If you're interested. Hours passed as they exchanged songs and stories, Sarah teaching Rena simple earth melodies, Rena demonstrating the complex harmonics of Azuran compositions. When their fingers brushed across the strings, neither pulled away. Your council seems concerned about our meetings. Sarah noted. Kai warned me today that I'm disrupting centuries of tradition. Tradition, Rena sighed, becomes chains when it no longer serves growth. Do you know I've watched my people from behind? Veils of protocol for so long I'd forgotten what it means to simply exist with another being. What will happen when I leave? Sarah asked the question that had haunted her for days. Rena's expression grew distant. Return to isolation, duty, eternity. Does it have to be that way? What alternative exists? I am Commander Rena, immortal guardian of Azura. Sarah's hand covered Rena's. You're also just Rena, a person with thoughts. Desires, curiosity, don't those deserve expression too? Rena stared at their joined hands. You've awakened something dangerous, Sarah Chen. Something I believed long dead. What's that? Hope, Rena whispered, and hope is the most disruptive force in any universe outside the chamber. Kaya listened, his expression troubled. The crystals throughout the palace were glowing brighter than they had in centuries, responding to emotions. The commander had supposedly transcended long ago. The council would not be pleased, and a displeased council could mean the human visitor might not leave Azura alive. Cosmic division. The diplomatic quarters shimmered with dawn light as Sarah reviewed her notes for the day's negotiations. A soft chime announced a visitor. She expected Kai, but instead found Cooper, the Earth transport pilot, looking distinctly uncomfortable. Dr. Chen, he said, glancing nervously over his shoulder. Urgent message from command. They're ordering immediate evacuation. The Azuran High Council voted to expel all Earth's personnel. That's impossible, Sarah protested. Commander Rena wouldn't. Order didn't come from Rena. Cooper interrupted. That's what's causing the panic. Something's happening within their government. The commander hasn't been seen publicly in 3 days. Some advisors are suggesting you've compromised her. Sarah felt cold dread settle in her stomach. Where is Rena now? Unknown. Our intelligence suggests some kind of internal power struggle. The transport leaves in 2 hours with or without you. After Cooper departed, Sarah paced her quarters. Rena had mentioned attending a ceremonial retreat, but something felt wrong. She made her decision, quickly slipping through the palace using the service corridors Rena had once shown her. She found Kai in an empty meditation chamber, his expression grim. "You shouldn't be here," he hissed. "Your presence endangers everything. What's happening to Rena?" Eyes darted to the doorway. The inner circle has invoked the rite of purification. In ancient tradition, when a commander is believed to be compromised, they're attempting to purge her if he hesitated outside influences there. "Hurting her because of me," Sarah realized with horror. "Not physically," Kai clarified, "but they're using psychic techniques to realign her priorities. They believe your connection has made her to human. Too emotional, take me to her. Impossible. The ceremonial chambers are take me to her." Sarah's voice hardened. "Or I'll find her myself," making an even bigger spectacle. The ceremonial chamber was deep beneath the palace. 12 council members stood in a circle around Rena, who knelt motionless at the center. Waves of energy pulsed from there, outstretched hands bathing her in cold blue light. Her eyes were open but unseeing. "Stop this immediately," Sarah commanded from the doorway. The council members turned as one. Advisor Aya stepped forward. "This human has no authority here, Kai. You betray your oath bringing an outsider to sacred chambers." "What you're doing isn't sacred," Sarah argued, advancing despite Kai's restraining hand. "You're stripping away her free will because you fear change." "We protect Azura," Aya replied. "The commander's duty spans millennia. Her personal desires are irrelevant. They're everything." Sarah countered without personal connection. "What are you protecting but an empty shell of tradition?" Rena stirred at the sound of Sarah's voice. The blue energy surrounding her flickered. "Sarah," she whispered, her voice weak, "the purification is incomplete." One council member warned, "Restrain the human." 2 guards moved toward Sarah but stopped abruptly as Rena rose to her feet. The energy field surrounding her shattered outward, forcing the council members back. "Enough." She commanded, her voice once again, carrying the authority of centuries. Commander Aya appealed, "This human has clouded your judgment. Our traditions were meant to serve our people, not imprison them." Rena interrupted. "I have allowed myself to be bound by ritual and isolation, believing it necessary. For leadership was wrong." Sarah stepped forward. "Rena, you don't have to choose between your duty and connection. There's another way." Their eyes met across the chamber. Some unspoken understanding passed between them for the first time since arriving on Azura. Sarah could read Rena's expression perfectly. Determination, affection, resolve. "Leave us," Rena ordered the council. "All of you." "Kai will remain." When they were alone, Rena approached Sarah. The distance between them felt charged with unspoken possibilities. "The council has ordered your departure," she said softly. "I know. If you leave," Rena continued, "relations between our worlds return to silence. And if I stay?" Rena's fingers trembled as she reached out, touching Sarah's cheek. "Or possibly my people fear change. But they fear losing me more. There must be another option," Sarah insisted, covering Rena's hand with her own. Perhaps Rena's eyes held a new light. "But it would require breaking traditions older than your civilization." Kai cleared his throat. "Commander, the cosmic compromise has never been invoked, but it exists within our oldest laws." Rena's eyes widened. "The emissary protocol." "What's that?" Sarah asked. "A third path," Rena explained, hope blooming in her voice. "If the council agrees. But first I must ask something impossible of you. Something that would change your life irrevocably." Sarah stood at the precipice of a decision that would alter the course of 2 worlds. Her heart raced as Rena's fingers intertwined with hers. "Tell me," she whispered. Behind them, Kai quietly departed, knowing that what would happen next would either heal the growing rift between worlds or tear everything apart. The crystals throughout the chamber pulsed with intensity, matching the beating of 2 hearts from different worlds, finding unexpected harmony. Starlit promised the Grand Council Chamber of Azura had never held such a diverse assembly. 13 Azoran counselors seated in their traditional formation. The Earth delegation hastily recalled from their departing transport, and at the center, Commander Rena and Dr. Sarah Chen, standing side by side, their postures mirror images of calm resolve. "The emissary protocol has not been invoked in 7,000 years." Advisor Aya's voice carried notes of both respect and apprehension. "It requires extraordinary circumstances. These are extraordinary times," Rena replied, her traditional ceremonial. Armor had been replaced with simpler attire. Her hair, once bound in elaborate braids, fell loose around her shoulders. To civilization's stand at a crossroads: connection or continued isolation, Sarah stepped forward. I've contacted Earth's Galactic Council. They've agreed to the terms. Cooper from the Earth delegation looked bewildered. Dr. Chen, what exactly have you agreed to? The emissary protocol, Kai explained, creates a permanent diplomatic bond, one being from each world chosen to serve as living bridge between civilizations. They remain together, always one foot in each world. Neither fully one nor the other in ancient times, Rena continued. It was considered the deepest form of diplomatic trust, a shared life, a shared purpose. Understanding dawned on Cooper's face. You're staying here? Permanently? Not exactly, Sarah smiled. According to the protocol, we will divide our time between worlds. 6 months on Earth, 6 months on Azura, building, understanding through lived experience. This is unprecedented, Aya, protested a commander leaving Azura. A commander evolving, Rena corrected, as all things must. Our isolation served its purpose in dangerous times. But the universe changes, we must change with it, or become relics of history. The chamber fell silent. As the implications settled over the assembly, Sarah felt Rena's fingers brush against hers, a small gesture hidden from the others, yet conveying volumes. There is one final requirement. Kai announced the protocol demands a binding ceremony to symbolize the unbreakable connection between emissaries. It must be performed before witnesses from both worlds. The twin moons of Azura cast silver-blue light across the ancient ceremonial grounds as delegates from both planets gathered in a circle. Sarah wore a gown of flowing material that seemed to capture and release light with each movement. Rena, dressed in ceremonial purple robes, approached. From the opposite direction, their eyes never left each other. Under twin moons and distant stars, we witnessed the binding of worlds. As Kai's voice carried across the gathering, what was separate becomes connected. What was distant becomes near. Rena extended her hands, palms upward. I, Commander Rena of Azura, offer myself as emissary. I bring the wisdom of centuries, the perspective of the stars, and the promise of new understanding. Sarah placed her hands atop Rena's eye. Dr. Sarah Chen of Earth, offer myself as emissary. I bring curiosity, compassion, and the human spirit of exploration. Around them, crystals embedded in the ancient ground began to glow, responding to the emotional energy radiating from the pair. The light spread outward, encompassing the entire gathering. The emissary bond transcends ordinary connection, Kai continued. It is diplomatic, spiritual, personal, a shared journey toward understanding. Rena's voice softened, meant for Sarah alone. When you first looked at me, I asked why no one had truly seen me in centuries. I remember, Sarah whispered. Now I understand. Rena's eyes shimmered with emotion, no longer hidden behind walls of protocol. You didn't see Commander Rena the Eternal? You saw someone longing to be known as I now see you, Sarah Chen. Not just Earth's representative, but a soul of remarkable courage. Their fingers intertwined as Kai placed a crystalline cord around their joined hands. The material glowed, then seemed to dissolve into their skin, leaving a faint luminescent pattern where it had touched. 2 worlds, 1 bridge, 1 shared future, Kai pronounced. Later, as celebration continued around them, Sarah and Rena stood beneath the observatory dome, watching stars glitter above. Are you afraid? Sarah asked, to leave Azura after all this? Time. Terrified, Rena admitted, yet more afraid of returning to isolation. Now that I've remembered what it means to truly live, she turned, facing Sarah fully. For centuries I existed, now I begin to live. The council still seems skeptical. Rena smiled. Change comes slowly to a people who measure time in millennia. But it comes. The crystal gardens are growing brighter throughout the city, responding to emotions long suppressed in us. Sarah asked the question that had hovered. Between them, this bond goes beyond diplomacy, doesn't it? The most effective diplomacy always involves the heart. Rena's hand cupped Sarah's cheek. For the first time in centuries, I look forward to tomorrow and all the tomorrows that follow. As their lips met in a kiss that bridged worlds, the observatory dome reflected starlight around them to figures from different planets finding connection against impossible odds. The crystals throughout the palace blazed with unprecedented brilliance, as if celebrating a new constellation forming in the cosmic dance of civilizations. Why do you look at me like that, human? Rena whispered, echoing their first meeting. Sarah smiled against her lips because I see you and always will. Far below in the ancient council chambers, Kai updated the historical records with careful precision. Today marks the beginning of the emissary age, a time of connection rather than isolation. May future generations remember this moment when two worlds chose understanding over fear, and may they remember the courage of those who dared to truly see each other across the vast distances between stars.